We're walking through a winter wonderland, plus we'll step inside for some cut flower color. The show starts right after this. Wow, Old Man Winter is really howling out there. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to today's show. Now, in today's show, we're going to focus on how to deal with ice and snow in the garden, but we're not going to stay outside in the cold. We're going to come inside because, you know, this time of year, we gardeners are looking for ways to bring the outside in, from cutting greenery to making arrangements and even forcing bulbs indoors. Who says winter has to be drab? We'll stop by the New York Botanic Garden for a look at what's going on during December. We'll also cook up a recipe that's a great appetizer this time of year. It's a vegetarian version of Oysters Rockefeller using locally grown organic spinach. We've got a colorful show full of ideas you can use, and we'll get started right after this short break. As gardeners, we're all familiar with foliage and bloom, but I think sometimes the fruit or berries of a plant get a little left behind. During the winter, I enjoy seeing shrubs and trees that pop against a snowy backdrop. Now, you probably think that December would be an odd time to visit a garden or a public park, but if you're looking for trees and shrubs that will give you interest in the coldest parts of the year, then a visit to some place like the New York Botanic Garden could fit the bill. Todd Forrest showed me around the Botanical Garden during the winter. Most of us usually don't think of visiting a botanical garden in the winter, but it's actually one of the best times to see plants.
It's actually my favorite time of year here in the garden because there are so many things that you don't think of as beautiful that are really at their best. Plants with berries, plants with great bark.
There's actually a lot of color in the winter.
Great color. Berry plants in particular, hollies and viburnum and nandina, and other plants with wonderful bark.
Well, I was knocked out by that deciduous holly at the entry coming in today.
It's got fantastic bright red berries, and it really just takes off in the winter. It looks great.
Of course, the color of berries just doesn't stop with red. There are purple and yellow berries as well.
One of the most spectacular purple berried plants is Beautyberry, Gallicarpa, and it has a very unnatural, almost electric color purple, and this time of year it really just glows.
And then, of course, there are barks.
We have some of my favorite plants are really grown for their barks, or at least are most spectacular when their bark is prominent as it is in the winter, including Paperbark Maple, Tanyosho pine, and lacebark pine, all wonderful bark plants.
And then the maples themselves offer a wide range of bark color and texture.
Exactly. There is Sangukaku, which is a cultivar of Japanese maple, has a sort of coral color.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Spectacular in the winter.
Brilliant color.
And they really brighten up a gray day. They're almost best to be seen when it's sort of overcast and chilly.
And then, of course, the red twig and yellow twig dogwood.
Again, those are sort of some of our hardest working horticultural plants. They're great both in formal gardens and in naturalistic plantings.
After the break, a garden that inspired a family business. And a little later, tips for dealing with ice and snow in your garden. Welcome back. I'm Alan Smith. Today we're at the New York Botanical Garden in the Bronx. You know, I enjoy coming to a garden like this time of year because so many of the plants and flowers they have growing here we use in our home decorating. Some of my favorite winter plants to cut and bring indoors include holly of all kinds, leyland cypress, spruce, and other evergreens. Of course, pine cones, lichens, and mosses are great to gather up in late fall and early winter. And I love cutting plants that have lots of berries, like these crabapples and viburnums. That's if you can get to them before the birds. Bringing cut flowers indoors is an important part of every season. For many gardeners, the ability to cut a bloom is a top priority before they add a new plant into their garden. Now, I love to bring you interesting stories, and Greenbrook Flowers in Jackson, Mississippi certainly qualifies. You see, this flower shop has been around since 1917, when a local gardener opened it to make use of the flowers from her home garden. For years, the tradition of making custom arrangements from items cut from the family garden continued, but now the property is open to the public.
What's unique about Mynell Gardens is that this place is huge, and it started as a private residence. Back in the 1920s, a family built a house here, the Westbrooks. And it was their daughter, Mynell, whom the gardens became named after, because she was the one who was instrumental in expanding it over the years and continuing to. And she had moved away in the 40s. For a decade, the gardens were abandoned. But as luck would have it for the city of Jackson, she moved back in 1952 with her husband and reclaimed the gardens. She brought the paths and the beds back to their former glory, and she planted thousands of flowering trees like crepe myrtles and hostas, all sorts of perennials, azaleas, camellias, all the many different kinds of plantings you have here. And it's just amazing that Jackson now has this. Well, when the Westbrook house was built, Mynell and her husband, Joseph Green, lived there with her parents. And she loved flowers as much as her mother did. And she decided, well, they had these wonderful gardens, that there was an old abandoned servant's house on the grounds. She decided she was going to turn it into a flower shop. And Greenbrook Flowers was born. At that point, they added in cutting flower fields and a rose garden, all to supply the floral shop. When she moved away, the gardens were abandoned for 10 years, but the flower shop was not. The family took that over, and they moved it into several different locations, but they eventually settled into the place they're in now on North State Street in Jackson, and it's been there for more than 50 years and is still in the family.
Carrying on the family tradition of flower arranging is Gwen Jacobs Coella, the great-granddaughter of the founder of Greenbrook Florist.
Mynell Gardens actually started for Greenbrook Flowers. They were doing flowers for people of the community, and it got so big that they had to start a business. It actually started with a rose garden, and that's why I'm doing the roses today. I've already put in my leather leaf, and I've taken off the bottom leaves, and I'm fixing to start my arrangement. We start off by putting one in the middle, and we take another one, we cut it again. Always have to cut them, and then kind of put it like that. We take another one and do it on the other side. The reason I'm cutting this rose at an angle is because the air bubbles get into it, and if you don't cut it at an angle, it won't drink water. And you need to get it in water within like 20 seconds or it seals up. Now I'm going to put limonium or misty blue in there. I like to use it because it's light and airy, and it cuts some of the baby's breath, because baby's breath can get kind of overbearing sometimes. And just remember the formula. You stick one rose in the middle, and you put 4 around it, and then 1 between each one of those, and you'll have a beautiful arrangement every time.
A visit to Gwen's shop was a nice break from the ice and snow, don't you think? Now, I promised you some ideas on dealing with old man winter in your garden, like how to safely get rid of ice covering a pathway, or the best way to keep your plants from breaking under the strain of snow. Those tips are coming up right after the break. Over the years, I've learned that being prepared for old man winter's visits can save me a lot of time and worry. So here are some tips that may be helpful to you as you prepare your garden for the cold days ahead. Start by mulching your flower beds. You might be surprised how much protection a layer of mulch will provide your plants over the winter. Use bark, straw, pine needles, or leaves. I even use my old Christmas tree and garland. In my vegetable garden, I like using frost blankets like these to protect young plants. You can also keep winter vegetables growing longer by using a movable cold frame. To keep my tree roses from being damaged, I protect them from extreme temperatures by wrapping them with burlap cloth. Shrubs and trees can be some of the most expensive investments in our gardens. So let's take a look at some ways to keep ice and snow from damaging them. I've learned that tying up certain hedges and large shrubs, like this boxwood, can keep the snow from weighting down the plant's limbs. And knocking the snow off trees and shrubbery is a good idea. It will keep plants from bending and breaking. But don't try to knock the ice off your plants. Let the ice naturally melt to avoid damaging limbs and foliage. You know, while there's nothing quite as beautiful as a gentle snowfall, behind all of its beauty are actually some hidden benefits for your garden. For instance, did you know that snow can actually make an excellent insulator? Just a few weeks ago, many of my spring flowering bulbs and perennials were already beginning to emerge, and now they're covered with this thick blanket of snow. This will keep the plants and ground at a temperature of 28 to 32 degrees, which is much warmer than the wind chill. And as the snow melts, it becomes a valuable source of water for plants, as well as replenishing nitrogen in the soil. While melting snow can benefit our gardens, Ice is a different story, particularly when it's on paths and walkways. It can be treacherous. So when trying to eliminate ice, use something other than salt. Sand is a good choice because it won't hurt the plants once it melts and gets swept off the walk into the yard. And sawdust is another environmentally friendly choice. And so are commercial products that are calcium chloride based. Sodium chloride, or ordinary table salt, may melt the ice, but it will also kill your grass and flowers when it comes in contact with them. Snow and ice may be a nuisance, but we all have to remember it's all part of the winter season and nature's way of getting your garden ready for spring. The next time you hear there's snow in the forecast, don't cringe or worry. Remember, Mother Nature knows what's best. The main thing is just to have some fun and enjoy it. It's time for viewer mail. Today, I have a letter from Emily in Alabama. She writes, Alan, my kids are home for the holidays and I'm looking for some earth-friendly projects to keep them busy. Do you have any suggestions? Well, Emily, if you go to pallansmith.com, we actually have several projects which are kid-friendly listed, which I think you'll find interesting. First, I think this is a great time of year to make borax ornaments. Now, it might be too late to hang these on your tree this year, but they're beautiful, I think, used with evergreen boughs throughout the new year. Making tin can lanterns can keep your little ones busy, from tracing out the picture to punching the holes for the lights. When the weather warms a bit, you can put them outside for a magical effect. And speaking of cooking, you can whip up a treat for the birds. Pinecone bird feeders are a favorite, and suet cakes are easy to make. Or if your little ones are small, just filling up bird feeders is a great activity and a good hobby to get into year-round. You can also teach kids about the herb rosemary by making rosemary cookies with them. They make a great gift for the new year, as rosemary is regarded as the herb of remembrance. I really don't do much baking, but there are certain recipes that have become favorites of mine over the years, and they can always lure me back into the kitchen. One of these is for a simple cookie, and it includes one of my favorite herbs, rosemary. It all begins with a basic sugar or butter cookie recipe of your choice. I just blend together a half a cup of butter with a half a cup of shortening, a cup and a half of sugar, and 2 eggs. Now that this is nice and creamy, I'm ready to stir in the dry ingredients, which include 2 3/4 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, 1 teaspoon of soda, and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, all blended together. Be sure to sift your flour before you add it. Now I'm ready for the most important ingredient, at least when it comes to flavor. I'm using 2 scant teaspoons of fresh chopped rosemary. Now I'm forming the dough into small balls and placing them on an ungreased baking sheet. I like to press them with the bottom of a drinking glass that I've dipped in sugar. This gives them a nice crunchy glaze. Now I'm ready to slide them into a preheated 400-degree oven for only about 8 minutes. This is a great way to enjoy both the flavor and aroma of rosemary. Like I said, these projects and many more can be found on my website with step-by-step instructions. After the break, we're going to take a look at a simple recipe that I'm sure will be a classic in your home throughout the winter. This time of year, there's a lot of entertaining going on, and one thing to keep in mind, if you're uptight and tense, your guests are probably feeling the tension as well. So keep it simple. Do things that don't put a lot of pressure on you, like this arrangement that I've put together during the course of the show. It really is simple. I just started with a ceramic pie plate and put a block of Oasis in it. From there, I used 2 types of evergreen. First, an arborvitae, and then a layer of holly. From there, I added 4 votives on top of the Oasis, just pushing them in so they would hold and be stable. Next, I added white roses, about 2 dozen of them. And from there, I filled in with some pine cones that were covered in glitter. I tucked in holly between the pine cones, and then added some beautiful red rose hips. Then to carry the silver theme, I just took some bead garland and wound it through the entire arrangement. Okay, now to wrap it up, I'm just adding these little curly bits of grass that are covered with glitter. It's the perfect finishing touch. How simple is that? And you can also decorate with forced bulbs. This time of year, amaryllis of all colors, as well as paper whites are available. Now I like to use them en masse, big bold groups of them. If you're keeping your decorating simple, why not do the same with the food? You see, cooking can get complicated this time of year, so we stopped in at Vieux, Carre, a restaurant in Little Rock, Arkansas, and picked up a recipe for a simple appetizer. Chef David Bennett shows us how to put it together.
Everybody's heard of Oysters Rockefeller, but when your mother's a vegetarian, you have to come up with new dishes like Shiitake Rockefeller. What we'll be doing, we'll take these Shiitake mushrooms, grown in Arkansas. It's very simple. You pop the stems off right along the cap. If it's a smaller mushroom, you can use most of the stem. And once you pop the stem off, it's just kind of a pinch and twist. It comes right off at the gills. And with these, we're going to marinate them first. All we use is just a little bit of olive oil to keep them moist. Tiny bit of Worcestershire, just for flavor. A little bit of fresh garlic, fresh shallots, and then a little salt and pepper. And then we just toss these in here. And once these are good and coated in oil, right in the oven, 350 degrees until soft, and right onto the spinach. What we do first with a hot pan, so we add our clarified butter. And to that we add garlic and shallots. Then we add our spinach, and we just toss to just wilt and warm through. Season with lemon juice and a little bit of white wine, salt and pepper. Then we top them with dried breadcrumbs, and then right into a hot oven or broiler until toasted on top. So here we have a good alternative to Oysters Rockefeller, Shiitake Rockefeller.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. It's time for me to get this arrangement inside. One last tip. Notice how low I kept it? Well, that's so if you use it in the center of a dining table, your guests aren't looking over an arrangement to see one another. Until next time, I hope you have a safe and enjoyable holiday season. From the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.